Hello everyone and welcome back to ZooCrafting! I am Zookeeper Seri and we are standing here in a field full of blossoms and bees, very important pollinators who help to make sure that so many of the plants around the world actually flourish and give you fruit that is then delicious and wonderful to eat. So thank you, little bees. But we are continuing, my friends, our grand zoo tour! And I have to admit, Lily, it is a little bit humbling. Oh, it's a little butterfly! If only I had a butterfly net! Over here would be a great place to have a butterfly person come. Oh my gosh, actually, there's so many rare species of butterflies scattered throughout the world, Lily, that it would be really cool to just run into a whole bunch of butterfly researchers no matter where we went. And is that an ostrich? That's an ostrich. Alright, my friends, lesson number 1 of the day is that ostrich are normally not supposed to be found inside of your temperate forest biomes. Raise your hand, please, in the comment section if you happen to be in a temperate forest zone that happens to have ostrich as native creatures, because this is a little bit embarrassing. So, all right, Lily, we're going to have to rehome that ostrich. I guess we'll just shove it in my pocket until we manage to wiggle our way over, ignoring the pork rump that is just up inside of a tree. Okay, guys, we clearly have a lot of work to do in ZooCrafting, and with the help of the Builders of Light, we are definitely getting there. But it's hit me today that I'm feeling pretty expansive lately, and I really want to see the zoo grow. I want to see it be a place that's covered in those signs so that we can start learning more about the natural world, this planet that we all share. So as we're wandering around on our Grand Zoo tour, please, please, please leave ideas for things in the area that we toured that day. So, you know, not for, say, the Arctic zone today, since we're not in the Arctic zone, we're in the temperate forest zone. Maybe we should have maps that show what kind of zones cover the different places in the world. Oh, that's a very good idea. So when I say temperate forest zone, what if we had a huge map at the entrance so you knew what counted as a temperate forest? That's a pretty important idea if you ask me. But anyway, my friends, please leave some comments that will tell me what you think we should build over here. It could be about a very obscure different species of animal. It could be about some really cool plants that only grow in an area, even history. I've begun to think it would be really fun to start building some sort of archaeology areas where we could really analyze the history of different lands, and it'd be really fun to maybe just have some random NPCs, not to mention I need to focus on the reality of the fact that there needs to be food and resources for people who don't just want to, like, you know, pick raw mushrooms off the ground, which actually I probably shouldn't encourage my guests to do anyway. So, yes, there is much that we must do in the zoo, Lily. And now that I know, like, that I really have the help of the Builders of Light to lean back on, I would love some more of your guys' ideas, because you come up with so many cool species that I haven't even thought to make exhibits for. So I think that would go over very well, Lily. Very well indeed. And speaking of species and food, I need to feed you some mutton really quickly, don't I? Alright, there we go. Some mutton for Lily. And then I actually have a Komodo dragon to rehome, which I don't really have like a swamp area anymore, even though Komodo dragon was one of the first species that we built in the old world for a exhibit for. Alright, so, oh, and I probably need to do the tour properly. Alright, my friends, so last time we finished off across a lovely wooden bridge in a beautiful flower field where hopefully we will have some researchers over here to talk about how important pollinators are and how you could actually help by making little bee gardens in your very own home, or at least little bee watering spots where they could stop and get a little bit of water on those hot days that are just increasing as time goes on, with life getting so much hotter. Oh my gosh, this summer has been quite the blazing one, and it's hard on the little bees. So it'd be really cool to have like a little station. That'd be really cute, a little station over here where you could make your own little bee garden. Oh, that'd be adorable. And it'd be very good so that you guys could learn how to make your own bee gardens at home. But I have to admit, this is one of the most embarrassing sections of the zoo to me, because it is kind of just suddenly at the edge of the temperate forest zone. It just sort of has this big path. There's not really any exhibits. There's not really much to see yet. So I need your guys' ideas and creativity on what we could add in, and let's move on. We don't want to dwell too long on how rough and wild and not very zoo-y this area is. We'll get around to it eventually. Also, where'd that ostrich go? I need to rehome you. Oh, there you are. All right, so we have a path leading down to the river here. which I actually don't remember putting in, but we have a few tree ints that I might need to rehome so that we could maybe turn this into a cool place to possibly talk about beavers, for instance. And it appears there is something in the water there, a mole. I don't have a mole exhibit. And hello, tree int, how are you? You appear to be part tree now, which you were before, but now you have grown into the tree. But yes, so this is going to be a little embarrassing. I'm actually blushing because, like I said, this is a pretty unfinished part of the zoo, and I am open to any and all suggestions to how we might spruce this place up to actually look like a zoo, which I swear we're going to do once we're finished with the Grand Zoo tour. All right, so we have some wild mud and some clay, which in its natural state can be very lovely. It maybe doesn't inspire education about the natural world though, so I might need to reassess priorities in this section of the zoo. Lily, I swear you gave me a little bit of a disappointed roll of the eyes there. Yeah, now you're wagging your tail. I can hear it. There's so much to do in the zoo. Come on, Mom, focus. Fine, Lily, I can take a hint. All right. So yeah, we do need to do something with this side of the zoo, and I'm thinking we definitely need to make like a few bridges. We might be able to put in another little swan boat area. We already have one swan boat lake that you guys actually haven't seen with the Tate and Tackle yet. Oh, and I was gonna make some little islands, so like a crow island where we could go and have a bridge that arches over there and visit an island and talk about crows and how they live, which is really fascinating. Oh, pardon me, little mole. That was really adorable, actually. And otherwise this path just kind of leads down to the grass all of a sudden, which is okay. Sometimes paths do that. And where did that ostrich go? Is it over here now? It is indeed over here now. And this path loops around to kind of a little abandoned workshop that I was in. Hello, are you attacking me? Good grief. How rude. I'm gonna go ahead and just leave you inside of a safari net and take you to my actual safari zone when we go over to that side. But this is Tangle. Tangle is actually one of my horses, and he was tangled up in the trees and became tamed when I tried to get him out. So this is sort of a temporary little I guess outpost for the animals that I threw up really quickly, just so that Tangle would have somewhere to go before we decided to take him to the Meadow of Horses. And I'm actually thinking that it would be really cool to turn this area into like a woodworking shop so that people could see all of the really beautiful devincing things that you could build out of the woods that we grow right here in the extreme wilds of Zoodesia Zoo. So maybe something like, think Robin from Stardew Valley could sort of have like a cabin here, and people could come and they could buy different wooden souvenirs. We might talk about like why some wood is prized over other types of wood, because that actually has sculpted how we look at the world and has had dramatic effects on things like, say, the redwood forest in real life. So that's not quite as exciting. I kind of prefer animals over talking about like Home Depot and stuff like that, sort of like wood things. But we'll look into what we can add over here. So I'm open to suggestions, but I was kind of thinking that wood shop, Lily. But now I'm staring at Tangle, and I'm thinking maybe it would be nice if we had some horse trails back here. This is kind of more in the wilderness, and then people could ride a horse trail, maybe down the cliff carefully. We would enlarge the trail quite a bit, over to the flower pathway that we're trying to build, around the lakes. Maybe they could ride through the beautiful Patreon tree forest that we were starting, and maybe even ride over here once we have a whole bunch of the actual exhibits set up. So that might be really nice, Lily. It might be really cool to set up like a horse riding trail instead. And that would be a great way to look at some of the expansive areas here in the Temperate Forest too, without having to just hoof it the whole time. Well, I guess you would be hoofing it, but horse hoofing it, eh? Eh, Tangle, eh? All right, well, carrying on, because like I said, this side of the forest makes me a little embarrassed because there's not really a lot to do just yet. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. And down here is a little path that we built. Oh, that leaf scared me, Lily. That bunny, not so much, but the leaf for sure. But down here is a path that will lead you to the back of the bird aviary. So, oh, look, and you can see a little finch over there. Hi, little Tweety sparrow finch guy. Oh, that's so cute. I should have a whole bunch of signs sprinkled around the place and set up for different native bird species that you might get a chance to see while you're here. That would be really cool. But that on this side, this is kind of where the cougar exhibit is hopefully going to be planned to be. You can't really see it very well, but the path that we walked on last time is up there. And then over here is, dun dun, dun 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 dun, one of our most beautiful gardens. The pillar of the forest planted by Jason oh so long ago. And this is a beautiful, beautiful little garden that we have set up with tons and tons of birds that roam inside of the trees. We have a squirrel that lives up inside of that gigantic redwood. But this is kind of a landmark of our forest. It is a landmark. Oh, there we go. We have a woodpecker who's on the side of the redwood tree right there. It's a beautiful landmark that you can kind of guide yourself. Lily, don't bother. Don't bother the redwood. Oh my gosh. And meanwhile, we've got like all of these pigeons over here. But it's a beautiful landmark you can guide your way around the temperate forest section of the zoo on. So I very much like it. There's tons of berries. I guess I always just assumed people would want to come over and they're like, oh, huckleberries. And they would eat huckleberries when they come to visit. But then I guess it occurred to me, Lily, that not everybody wants to just eat raw berries off a bush. And so we probably should have like a really cute little, maybe like a coffee or a hot chocolate shop set up somewhere around here. There's a really big actually cavern right down here that I have been meaning to explore for a while. Ooh, almost slipped down that again. I've fallen down there once or twice. But I've been thinking about exploring this cavern and maybe coming on in and making it a place where people can kind of walk inside of a cave. We might have a few cave exhibit pieces, but it might just be a pretty cave to walk because, you know, maybe it's just like a nice place where people could get some great Instagram screenshots. Because that is important when you are thinking about the needs and desires of your tourist as well. Plus, it'd be fun to explore the cave. It has been way too long since I have gone mining. I very, very much miss it, especially with all of these special minerals that grow in our world. But alright, so yes, this is a great place to rest. It's a great place to kind of have a little bit of a scenic view. Probably should have like a little hot chocolate shop, Lily. Maybe some berry pastries from the berry bakery once we get it up and going too. Maybe somewhere for puppy treats as well, Lily. I think that would be a good idea. So definitely some upgrades we could bring to this area. And it does kind of have a section that we could make into another path cutting this way. And this will eventually connect up, hopefully, with like the timber wolf area, but that'll have to be in the future. I haven't quite gotten around to that just yet. However, now I'm really hankering to it. I'm like, well, there's so much to upgrade, so much to change. I really want to start building. So let's get the tour going. All right. Oh, and then this is the wild turkey area. Yay! And we actually have a surprising number of turkey fans amongst our zoo crafting fans. I was really surprised, but a lot of you guys actually own wild turkeys and care a lot about wild turkeys and are happy that we happen to have no Lily, no wild turkey. No wild turkey for your snacks, okay? You can have some mutton. There you go. Some nice mutton. And you can come back this way. You are not allowed to go and chase the wild turkey. Lily, sit. Sit. Good girl. But we have a lot of you guys who actually own and keep turkeys. So you are big turkey fans and very happy to see several turkeys over here. And we actually have so many turkeys because of two things. One, every Thanksgiving we go and we find a turkey to rescue and bring to the turkey sanctuary that I have right behind me. And two, I actually had a really amazing encounter with a wild turkey a while back that inspired me to build this area when I was driving through the mountains of North Carolina and a big mama turkey walked across the side of the road with 3 tiny little babies behind her, and they were so silly. They saw my car and freaked out, and so they just spun around in circles in the road, and I had to sit there and wait until they realized that their mother had continued on into the forest and was gobbling frantically for them, and finally the babies followed her off the road and stopped spinning in circles. But it was so cute, and I never forgot about that. So ever since then, turkeys have held a special place in my heart. That's right, gobble gobble. I heard one of you two do it. But we do need to make their exhibit a little bit more interesting. So I was thinking we might move in maybe 1 or 2 of the deer who have actually really populated our whitetail deer exhibit. And maybe we could even like add in, I was gonna say some lizards, but the turkeys would eat them. I'm not sure what else to add in over here, but we need to make it really fun and interesting. Maybe somebody like a really hyper turkey fan who could explain why turkeys are so cool. That might be kind of interesting. Or even the history of the turkey. I mean, or maybe an ocellated turkey, because they have beautiful, almost peacock level fancy fan feathers. So that would be kind of cool to see. Over here, eventually this tree might have to be moved because this is going to be the other side of the cougar exhibit that I'm really looking forward to getting done. So this will be the cougar exhibit. This will be where people can come over. I'll probably make like a little dock or something that you can stand on and kind of look around and admire our beautiful cougar. So that'll be really fun too. It'll be nice to kind of tie everything together so you could wander down the paths again and again and find your way all around Zoodesia Zoo. Speaking of paths and wandering, this direction actually loops around and it'll take you in a few different places if you can't tell. But right over here, we're back! We're back! Hello, Arbor. Hello, Chantel. Hello. Oh my gosh, Lily, you can't just walk off the roof and sit in pancakes. That's rude. Oh my goodness. Come on, Lily. Come on. Good girl. Good girl. But we're back to the syrup shack right over here. But if we carry on going down this path, we will actually come to the special maple woods full of maple giving trees that we had right over here. Oh my gosh, and we've got a sheep standing on top of the syrup shack. I'm going to have to do something about that. Oh yeah, and I forgot the compost bin here at the syrup shack. We can actually come over and we can turn a whole bunch of the different leaves that we collect into compost. We can actually come, and it's supposed to be the other way around, but we can take some of the oak wood that has deteriorated a little bit and with a little bit of help transform it into some sculptures. If we have a bunch of maple saplings, we can go ahead and strip the leaves off of them before putting them into the compost. And if we have fern powder, it will actually be able to transform into a bunch of fern seeds thanks to the rich compost peat that we have in here. And Lily, thank you for pushing the sheep off of that. But we needed syrup for our syrup shack, and I learned a lot about how complicated it is to make syrup. And I think we actually have a botanist right over here, botanist Faith, who should tell you quite a bit about syrup and how it's collected and some of the compost bin. But I forgot that the leaves are a little tall around her. I might need to clear that away a little bit. So yeah, ferns grow fairly well under. There we go. Care to try your hand at harvesting fresh maple syrup? So if we come and help her, you can actually come over and you can gather up a whole bunch of the fresh maple syrup from these trees that she actually researches. And we put down a whole bunch of the plants that actually grow under these kinds of very acidic pine needles as well. The very acidic needles that come off of these trees will kind of choke out a lot of the life. However, it's important to note, if you've seen a maple tree, they don't have pine leaves. So I really need to make a footnote about that. But if you're looking at like a spruce tree, you're not going to be able to tap it for maple syrup. That's going to be a maple tree. So that sounds kind of see, I need to come up with more animal things, because not many people are going to be quite as fascinated about the nuanced details of leaves and trees as I am. But I am, because it's really cool. Syrup that you end up putting on your pancakes, the really pure maple syrup at least, only grows for a tiny period of time every year, and it's very dependent on temperature. And with how much temperatures change, Lily, I wonder if, a generation or two from now, putting maple syrup on your pancakes will only be a distant memory, which would be a tragedy if you ask me. I think Chips would absolutely lose it. He absolutely loves maple syrup. It's like his favorite thing in the world. But if you happen to collect too much maple syrup and you don't feel like going and turning it into the syrup shack in exchange for some moolah, then you can just go ahead and, I guess this is also the syrup shack. I should change this name to the syrup shed. There we go. So you could come into the syrup shed and you could go ahead and just leave. Do I really want to do that? Okay, I'll probably, oh, my rose of friendship. Yeah, I need to put that away in the house. But you can come over and you can leave the syrup in here to be collected at a later date. Or if you happen to be Canadian, possibly to add to what is apparently the Canadian government's official syrup reserve, which I think is pretty cool. And here's Aster Seed, here at the very end of our Temperate Forest Zoo Tour. So, I will admit, after starting off at the Red Wolves and going through that beautiful aviary, it just reminds me how much we still have to do. But I'm really feeling it. I really want to get to doing some things in the zoo, and I think we might actually poke at a couple builds before I move on to the next section of the zoo, which will be the Tate and Tackle, which happens to be one of my favorite places. I love fishing over at the Tate and Tackle, and we have so many cute and adorable little ducklings that we can go see there too. So alright guys, this is the end of the Temperate Forest area. We have a lot of paths that currently don't really go too many places, but I have little signs up for to try to encourage me to remember to put in some interesting spots. But I think, Lily, we just have to really get our hands in it and start building. So I want to go back and we're going to try to put down a build or two before we move on and we continue with our grand zoo tour. But again, this is just to kind of lay out once and for all a huge zoo tour. What the heck am I looking at over there? Oh my gosh, I might need to see how things have possibly changed with the Builders of Light already. Deep breaths, Seri, deep breaths. That only looks absolutely amazing on the map. What am I seeing there? Okay, deep breaths, deep breaths. So we might do a build next time because I do want to add to this area, and there's just, it's so much potential. It's so much potential, and we just really need to start diving in and doing it. So that'll be exciting. But then we will go over and we will check out the Tate and Tackle, all of its adorable ducklings, and possibly where we might want to put in a huge order for the future butterfly house, which I'm really starting to think very seriously about before moving on and checking out our Peafowl Garden or Zoology Research Center and the rest of the zoo. Whew, and by the time we finish with the Grand Zoo Tour, guys, it'll be a long time before we do another one, and hopefully we will have transformed this world all over the place into something truly spectacular with the help of the Builders of Light and whatever interesting ideas you guys have too. So I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye!